Minecraft is a great sandbox game for the whole family. The Pan-European Game Information allows children from 7 years old to play it. In general, there's nothing scary in the game. At least the European Game Information thinks so. They probably hasn't heard the scary sounds of Minecraft. The ambient sounds of Minecraft have always made people feel uncomfortable in one situation or another. I think more than once you've heard something like that in a cave. I agree, after hearing this sound, you want to make sure you're actually playing in the single-player world and no one is following you in those dark underground caves. A slightly different story happened to me, but it scared me a lot. I have a thalassophobia. I'm terrified to swim in water where I can't see the bottom. Likewise, I honestly don't know what it has to do with. Of course, this fear doesn't get conveyed as much when I play Minecraft. I know that the only scary thing waiting for me in the water is drowned with a trident. On hardcore, it's really dangerous. So, one beautiful, calm and summer Saturday evening, I was playing Minecraft in the single world. Everything was fine. There were no problems. I built a lovely house, fed the doggy, petted the cat, kicked that, just enjoyed the game. At one point, I needed some kelp. I honestly can't remember what for. I went on a trip to the ocean where I could find more of this. Everything was fine. There were no problems. I got the amount of kelp I needed and was sorting through my inventory when I heard it. To say I was startled is an understatement. Seriously, I first heard that sound a few years ago, and the whole story has been filed away in my head until today. Since then, every time I hear that sound in the game, I get goosebumps. It's probably one of the creepiest sounds in Minecraft for me. If you think that this is only one sound in the game, so strange and mysterious, then you are fundamentally mistaken. Today we will talk about them and find out what these scary sounds are. It would seem that there are plenty of strange noises and sounds in Minecraft, but they all fall into exactly 3 categories: cave sounds, underwater sounds, nether sounds. If you have a question, where's the end sound category? Then I hasten to disappoint or rejoice you that there are no unique sounds at the end. So this dimension uses ambient cave sounds, although it is very strange. The last change that touched just the sounds of the environment were 3 years ago. Then the developers just added sounds for the Nether update. Perhaps the next update can be the end update. While I was writing this text, I'm replaying in my head the moment I got scared by a strange underwater sound, and I had a thought. Write to me in the comments your story of how you feared something in Minecraft. It doesn't have to be a sound, just generally write it. I'll be interested in reading this. Most likely I will surprise you very much, but these creepy sounds of Minecraft can be heard and even predict when they will appear. The thing is that the game has a special algorithm that calculates the time needed to scare you more. So you can understand that the developers intentionally create these sounds and intentionally scare players at the most inopportune moments. But this only makes it better. So how does this algorithm work? It's quite prosaic. It's called the mood algorithm. It works on this principle. The atmospheric sounds of the cave will be played from the value of your mood. Unfortunately, this mood is not readable from real life, but it would be cool if this exists. The player's mood depends on where the player is. It will go up if the player is in a cave or dark place, and down if it's the other way around. In this algorithm, the concept of happiness means a lower percentage, but bad mood is achieved by a higher value. And that is, roughly speaking, we have a scale from 0 to 100%. The lower this value, the less chance to hear scary sounds. When the player's mood reaches 100%, the game randomly selects a sound and, in simple words, scares the player with it. Then the value is reset to 0%, so the cycle restarts. The darker it is, the faster this scale fills up. But it is important to realize that the number of transparent blocks is also considered. The more transparent blocks, the more darkness, as it were, for the game. And this also provokes the mood scale to fill up. By the way, in Java Edition, every player can see this mood scale in the debug menu. To achieve this, you need to press the F3 key, and at the very bottom of the right side, find the option Sounds, and at the very end of the line, in brackets, there is the value of mood in percent. You can safely observe it in real time. I even advise you to experiment with it. If you go into the cave, the scale will start to fill up very quickly. If calculate everything, we can realize that if the player will be in total darkness and there are no blocks of light around him, then every 6,000 ticks, that's 5 minutes of real time, will play a creepy sound. Now, I want to talk about the underwater atmosphere sounds, since I mentioned them at the beginning. Just in case, let me clarify that ambient sounds are atmospheric sounds. Just the correct name, so don't get confused. At this time, there are 22 unique ambient sounds, and the player will be able to hear them in any biome when their head is underwater. In this way, we can understand that even in the end dimension, we can hear these sounds. All atmospheric sounds fall into 4 categories: looping, loop additions, rare loop additions, and ultra rare loop additions. But there's a little trick here too. All the rarity that is listed in the categories is actually untrue. It's exaggerated. Their names are formed from in-game code names, so there is no need to pay special attention to it. The sound you heard at the beginning of the video, the one that still gives me goosebumps, is called crackles. It falls into the category of a rare loop additions. Honestly, I thought I'd learn more about this sound from the title, but the name Crackles didn't do anything for me. It confused me more. Because if you listen to it again, I get the impression that someone is just banging from the bottom of the earth. It stirs the mind. Then I decided to turn on the subtitles. I thought they might give a little more information. But as it turns out, the subtitles only list the atmospheric sounds of the caves, and with the caption eerie noise, there are no specifics. I decided to search the internet, but unfortunately, I didn't find any answers there either. The only assumption from the man was that these sounds were actually made by a shipwreck. From the current, he bends and makes such sounds in the real world. It sounds silly, I know, but I have no other explanation. There are other underwater sounds as well. For example, this is an animal sound that most likely exists in Minecraft, since we can hear it. There's also a second sound. It's in the category of ultra-rare looping additions. I can actually hear what sounds like someone taking a bite of an apple, but the name of the file speaks for itself. What kind of animal is this? The only ones we have in the water currently are fish, squids, axolotls, guardians, dolphins, and drowned. They don't make that kind of sound. It's something else. If that doesn't confuse you, listen to this one and pay attention to the names. I'm not making anything up. This is actually a real title. Whale sounds, but they don't exist in Minecraft. There are two options that come from this. They must appear in the future, or they already existed once upon a time in the world of Minecraft, similar to sniffers, only died out for some unknown reason. Conditionally, lack of food. Fish, as a mob, appeared only in 1.13. Before that, the water world was completely empty. Of course, we could go fishing, but there are no mobs in the water. All that remains of the whales is their scream, which until now echoes through the water depths. There are 4 other rather creepy sea sounds. They're all called the dark. As I see, they are all the same whale sounds, just with various effects superimposed that make them creepy. Just by the 4th sound, you can clearly hear it, but it's actually Ghast's slowed down and muffled scream, but it sounds like a whale. Agree. Speaking of cave sounds, they came before all the others. As I said earlier, only these sounds have subtitles that are labeled as eerie noise. They refer to each of the 19 existing atmospheric cave sounds. They can be heard in a dark place or cave in any biome except the Nether biomes. They have their own special sounds there. Of the very unusual sounds, I will show you this one. I think all of you have heard it. It's the one I hear most often. So, like Music Disc 11, if you open the file in a sound editor and look at its spectrogram, you can clearly see the face of the creeper. It's kind of creepy, don't you think? Also, listen to this. It doesn't have an official description either, but to me, it sounds like a minecart going down a rusty railroad track somewhere. It echoes in the caves and reaches our ears. Some of the sounds have special effects applied to them, like this one. Here, you can clearly hear the Doppler effect. This is a change in the frequency of a wave caused by the movement of a source or receiver that detects it. It is shown perfectly in this GIF image. Speaking of Nether, he has a massive number of sounds, more than anyone else. As many as 126 different atmospheric sounds. Let me make it clear. Different sounds play in each biome. But still, the developers have cheated a bit. This is not a bad thing, just very fun. For example, I've only demonstrated one, but each of the 5 sounds is a mix of vanilla Enderman sounds as well as the Enderman from the Minecraft Dungeons game. If you listen very closely, you can hear the Enderman screaming, but it's slowed down and it was let backwards. The biggest chuckle, for me, was the following. Hopefully, you could already guess that this is just the sound of a regular vanilla witch, only the sound has been slowed down and a reverb added to it. If we go to the Basalt Deltas biome, you can sometimes hear something like this. Yes, the title says it's Basal Delta clicks. But here's one thing it 100% reminds me of personally, a Geiger counter. It's a special detector for radiation. If you have played the games Stalker or Metro, then I think you heard perfectly this crackling in areas with high radiation. From this, we can conclude that the Basalt Deltas biome is a very toxic and dangerous place. We can only think and wonder why Samuel Oberg decided to add them to the game, and only in the Basalt Deltas. In other biomes, these sounds cannot be heard. I really hope that in the near future, they will add new creepy sounds, and maybe even unique sounds for the end dimension. By the way, creepy sounds are not only about atmosphere, there are also sounds of mobs. For me personally, there are two of them. The first sound, I can hear in the water. If you swim close to the ocean monument, then something will appear. For me, it's always a pure screamer. Jeb has literally added a screamer to the game. He planned it that way. The guards and the monument, and then that's his thing. Sometimes you can catch this screamer while in a cave. Just imagine the horror when you explore a dark cave. Get close enough to the surface, hear and see this. It's total horror. You could easily build a brick house. The funny thing is that sometimes even when you get close to the monument, the screamer doesn't activate. It takes some time until the game decides to show it to you. This is also not a very pleasant thing when you know that the screamer should appear, but when exactly? Unfortunately not. The second one is the Enderman's scream. No matter how many times I look at him, no matter how many times I hear that sound, every time he starts screaming, I get scared. My palms sweat and my heart rate increases. That sound, it makes you panic and run away. More recently, there's been a warden. It's just the perfect trove of creepy sounds that tear you up inside, but we'll talk about him another time. Write in the comments sounds that scared or still scare you. If you are waiting for a new video, check out these ones. They are also very interesting. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and click on the bell. We'll hear from you again.